Hey, good morning, everyone. We are back. Another episode of Breakfast Trades. We got to be on like 18 or 19 now. So super exciting getting this series going. And let's kick today off talking about altcoins. Actually, just really charts in general, but there's obviously a ton of altcoin charts. So you're going to be able to find opportunities everywhere in the market. So I'm going to share with you guys today what I look for when I'm swing trading altcoins and when they join my watch list, when I take notice of them, etc., etc., etc. I don't swing trade alts very often, but when I find a setup I like, I will definitely start building a position and hold for, weeks or months. So anyway, you guys, let's get into it, and I hope you enjoy. Chart time. All right, you guys, hope you're enjoying your breakfast over here in the U.S. If you're not in the U.S., I still hope you're eating breakfast and enjoying these breakfast trade videos. You can have your crepes or your croissants or whatever you want and watch this really fun video with NebraskanGooner. All right, so this was a chart, RSR, that I had pointed out last year and that I actually had traded, but I really took interest in it because it started to show some very heavy volume here after a large drop. So we see this large drop, relatively low volume, and then all of a sudden, bam, like some huge mega volume. All right, and that's when I'm going to take interest in a chart. Now, if I'm swing trading alts, I'm always looking at the weekly time frame, and I'll look into the daily as well, but the weekly is very important to me. So when I go to the daily chart and I zoom out here and I go way back, you are going to see some massive volume here. All right, I really like this. And as long as we don't break below this massive volume, I'm okay with building a position. So you get into a position here on this retest or start building a position up here somewhere. And as long as we hold this mega high volume area, then we're very likely to bounce. This indicates that a lot of buyers showed up. A lot of buyers. I mean, that is a lot of people buying, right? Like, look at that volume. That is huge. So that's when something goes on my watch list. A lot of people end up FOMOing here before a drop. I like to wait for a dip. I don't always get it, but it increases my risk to reward. And if I'm FOMOing up here, I'm going to have to take a very small position. Whereas if I start to dollar cost average a little bit, I can take a larger position. But just look at this volume that comes in down below. And you can, especially after a higher low. All right, so you've got lower low, blah, 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 blah. And then you've got possibly a higher low and then another higher low and then some mega volume that leads to a higher high. And we continue from there. And you can just see all this volume that continues to come through here. And volume doesn't really drop off until about here. So that's where we really top out at. You can see that we got some very high volume at the top as well, which tends to happen. And then when you break below that, it ends up, being where you have a lot of FOMO buyers trapped at the top. Now we won't get into that too much today, but this is when I really take interest on a chart. So let's take a look at another chart here that might be of interest. ICP. You down with ICP? Yeah, you know me. Look at what we have here, my friends. We have some massive volume. Look at this volume. Price downtrending, lower lows, blah, blah, blah. We've got another lower low here. A lot of volume here. This actually ends up basically being a fake out. What is going on today? My cat just was doing some crazy shit. And now he's screeching at me from down the hall. Well, you guys are getting a good show today. Back to what I was saying. So this is actually a lower low, but it ends up being a fake out because we only have one close below. And then we get some really high volume again. So I take interest here. I'm not going to, I'm obviously going to be wary if we start to break below here. But then we break up here and we get a higher low. And that's when I'm going to start really taking interest in this. So we finally have our first higher low. We have some really high volume breakout again, but we never really confirmed below this high volume, right? So we have some very high volume here. We never really confirmed below that because we broke down on low volume and broke right back up on increased volume. Okay, so that's a good trigger for me to get in if I'm not already in. But then this other high volume breakout too is really good trigger as well. And if you really, really want to wait for confirmation, we obviously have this big zone here, and we get mega volume breakout above this zone. All right, the largest volume has come in a breakout of this accumulation range. So from my perspective, this would be an accumulation range, and now we have a reaccumulation range. However it pans out, somewhere up here is going to be a reaccumulation range, and as long as we don't lose the low of this high volume breakout candle, then we should see continued uptrend, all right, just like we saw on RSR. So that's what I'd be looking at there. Another chart that has my interest, which is not an altcoin, it's actually a stock, but you can see here that we have a very large downtrend, and we have some mega volume here, like mega volume, right? So this is where I definitely am taking interest. I've actually already built a position here, and I'm expecting some follow through at some point. Otherwise, I have a pretty close invalidation below in case we decide to do some crazy double bottom shit here. Which I'm always thinking about both scenarios. We could definitely get a double bottom scenario here and then moon. That would obviously be a great scenario for me if it happened, because I would get stopped out at a loss, but risk management, yada yada, and I can get a killer entry down here if that scenario is to play out. Now, you do have to be careful of these high volume breakouts that are actually fake outs. So like Wabi, and I had actually posted this last year, a lot of people were extremely bullish on some of these altcoins, all right? And you see here, let me go to the daily. Wabi. It's a weird name. Is that even saying right? Wabi. It just reminds me of wasabi. So basically, you have this like breakdown here, this major breakdown, and you have a very high volume retest, and you can even draw your line like this ish. Okay, so you've got this big breakdown, and we don't have much chart history here. I actually can probably show you another example right after this. This is like the first breakout, and it's the high volume is up at the top. Okay, so I don't really like that as much. Like, notice that there's not volume really down here. Yeah, there's some nice volume, but a lot of the volume is way up here at the top, like at the very top, not even down here. Like, you'd want the volume to be down here somewhere, really heavy. And yeah, we've got some volume, but to get this much volume up the high is a bit concerning, all right? Because then you can see that these actually end up being exit pumps, if you want to call it that, and then you get this breakdown, and this becomes the accumulation zone where you would actually want to accumulate. So you could see here that at some point, hopefully, some point it's likely that this breaks out huge, all right? And we'll see this on XRP. I'll show it to you here in a second. But after these big exit pumps, everyone FOMOs in here, everyone panic sells, the asset's dead, and then usually you get a big move out of that accumulation. So we'll look at XRP here quick, because this one is one that I've been pointing out for a long time back in the day, and we took advantage of this. All right, I'm trying to figure out where it was. I think it was on the weekly. You see a massive breakdown here. Okay, so we've got a big trend breakdown here, and we retested on some increased volume, and we break down. And then that breakdown is going to be the reaccumulation area, all right? So everyone gets bullish here. XRP is going to $5 or whatever, and it actually just ends up, and there's no volume to that move either, but it just ends up being a rejection, a retest, and we break down and go further, and this becomes the accumulation range, and then you should go up out of there. And now you can see here, look at all this volume. So we've got volume coming in, and we're seeing some nice volume now. So obviously volume up here at the high, a little concerning, but as long as we're able to hold this 60 cent area, then we wouldn't really have too much concern. But we get below that high volume area, and we would start getting a little concerned about more downside. But as far as we're concerned, some nice volume coming in here, so that definitely would make me take note on this, although you can't really buy XRP anywhere in the US anyway. But anyway, so yeah, you guys, that's a little bit what I look at. I really like the high volume. I expect high volume assets to keep going up because you get a really lot of high volume down at the bottom. A lot of buyers take interest, and then you have people like me who like to wait for confirmation that start to get into those positions and build those positions on the reaccumulation aspect and then trend higher. So if you want to learn more about accumulation, check out Wyckoff accumulation or Wyckoff reaccumulation, and that is how you can catch the start of trends. Really hope you guys found this video useful. Of course, you got a new video coming out every week on Tuesday, so stay tuned for next week's video. Please subscribe to my channel, and I have a couple new series coming for you guys really soon I'm excited for, so stay tuned.